Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to build the Stuka from Hasegawa. First, I primed the whole model in gray color. Then, I pre-shaded with black color. Any black color is fine. I am using Mr. Color Lacquer Black. I set the PSI to 15 and removed the nozzle cap of my 0.3mm airbrush. Then, I gently painted on the panel lines of the model. This will create some shadow to the model. I have done riveting on the model, so I also painted the shading on the rivet lines. Next, I applied white to the highlight areas, normally between each panel of the model. I used the same setting for the airbrush, and I gently painted the white color in a cloudy pattern. This will make the finished color look more interesting and less uniform. Just don't cover all of the black shading. After I was happy with the result, I moved on to the main painting. I began with the lower fuselage. I used RLM65 from Mr. Color. I used the same airbrush setting and painted in a cloudy pattern to break the uniformity of the surface. I diluted the paint a little bit more when using this technique. You can do 1 to 2 layers until you reach the desired result. After that, I painted the wingtips in orange-yellow from Gaia. Moving on to the first camouflage color, I used RLM70. Yes, of course, I used the same setting and painting technique. But remember to take your time and don't cover up much of the last shading and highlight layer. I am painting the Stuka in the Splendor Scheme camouflage, like in the instruction. I normally build models out of the box, and I enjoy it that way. I hope you guys can feel the same way. When the first camouflage was done, I added a bit of white color to highlight the color up a little bit. I painted inside each panel of the model, just like the highlight step. Now, moving on to the second camouflage, I used RLM71 and the same painting technique as the first one. I noticed that some of the water slide decals are easy to replicate using painting, so I painted them all. When you are happy with the result, seal everything up with a gloss coat. Then, apply the remaining water slide decals. I soften them using Mr. Softer to make the decals look like painted on. Then, apply another layer of gloss coat to protect the decals before the next step. To emphasize more of the shadow and blending those shading and highlight, I added a layer of black washes. This is enamel paint, and it flows very well on a glossy surface. It is easy to clean afterwards, and it sticks a lot on matte surfaces. That is why I always gloss coat my model before applying any enamel products. After the washes are dry, I used a flat brush with enamel thinner to blend and clean away the excess washes. I tried not to clean them all, but to keep the washes to remain in the rivets, panel lines to create more depth to the model. And my brush motion followed the aerodynamic of the plane to mimic the streaking effect on the wings. After that, I put a layer of flat coat on the model to seal up the last step. Then, I added pin washes to some specific areas, like panel lines and rivet lines that were too bright according to my taste. I used the same enamel paint as the black washes, but this pin wash is much thicker. And since I applied it on a matte surface, when cleaning it, it will leave some paint behind to create more shading and make the rivet lines and panel lines more pronounced. During decal application, I didn't suck out the water underneath and spray gloss coat right away, so the decals got destroyed. Luckily for me, the damage was minor, and I could fix it easily using a small tip brush and some acrylic paint. The final step is chipping. I used a small tip brush and acrylic aluminum color. I looked at some reference photos on the internet and put some chipping on the model. Just be patient and work at a small area at a time. Just don't overdo this effect. After I was happy with the brush chipping, I used another chipping technique called sponge chipping. I dipped a sponge in some aluminum and gently damped the sponge on a paper towel to remove most of the paint. Then, I gently damped the sponge on the model to make more finer chips. By combining the two techniques, you will get a realistic, unique chipping effect on your model. And that's it for today. Here are some B-rolls and some photos of the model. Let me know what you think. I'm happy to hear from you guys. See you guys in the next video.